Isn't it a shame that we don't live a shorter life? That our clocks aren't winded back a ton? Because when you really think about it, if we lived, not if we lived like, if our clocks were shorter, wouldn't we live the way we want to live? If we knew that the clock was running out and it was running out soon, we'd act a whole other way. We wouldn't be doing what we're not going to do what we're doing now. We're not going to work that job. We're not going to not travel. We're not going to suppress all these things. We're not going to say, "Oh, let's do this. Let's travel. Let's vacation. Let's do all this cool stuff." You wouldn't suppress that. You would welcome it. You'd want it. You'd run into adventure full speed. You'd run into the unknown with pure happiness because you've never experienced it before and you want to get everything. You want to get all the experiences that you could, because the time is running out. The clock is not only finite, but it is not long. So this idea came to me and I wrote it in my newsletter. It's called Chase Curiosity. I'm not really messing with the name. I have gone through a lot of evolutions of this newsletter, and it was kind of something I left for a little bit and I came back to it. And I realized I need an outlet. I need a writing outlet. It took me a few months to figure that out, but I was bouncing all around. And then, anyway, long story short, I just wrote about this because, funny enough, I'll just give the full context for anybody who's interested in the weird context. I was reading Don't Die by Brian Johnson. Amazing read. Love the dude. Never met the dude, but love the dude. And his mission, obviously. And I was reading that, and he had such good storytelling. And I don't know if you've ever had that feeling when you like finish like a fucking. I was about to curse, and then I was like, should I? And then I was like, we're crazy on this channel. If you've ever finished like a Spider-Man movie or any superhero movie as a kid, maybe even a little bit now, right? Like even now, you finish like Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and you're like, I gotta get into a fight, or I gotta jump off a cliff on a motorcycle or something, right? So, but especially as a kid, right? I would finish superhero movies immediately. If I had the Thor hammer, I'd grab it. If I would be pretending to be hanging on walls, I would be doing flips. I would be doing all this, right? Because I was so heavily inspired. So there is something to be said about even now, when we leave, I don't know, a movie theater, or we watch a show, or we do any of these things, those are the basic examples I can think of when we read a book, there is this level of like, I am resonating, I am like exuding what just happened, right? If that makes sense. Like I've never wanted to fight someone more than when I when I watch Creed or when I play Creed on like VR or something, right? Like I've never wanted to do that more when I leave it. So it's like priming for, I guess, you're thinking, right? Because I'm not going about my day thinking that I want to like get into these action fights. But if I see Tom Cruise in the theater, it might happen. I might feel that way. So it was kind of the same with this, where I almost picked up on this very, like, I'm not usually too much of a storyteller, especially in my newsletter, but Brian Johnson did a really good job of storytelling the roles of his being, right? So the types of personalities that he was, and he was very good at like making them, literally personifying them and saying like, okay, this is a literal person, not part of me, right? And he did a really good job storytelling, and pretty much it took me into a weird spot because his whole thing is like extend your life, live longer. And he was talking about like the time frame of thousands of years. And basically it puts you in this weird state of like, I was in a storytelling mood, but I was also very introspective, right? I was very like thinking ahead, thinking about life, thinking about things mattering, things not mattering. And it just put me in that weird state of storytelling and introspection. And I wrote this newsletter just now, which is going out tomorrow, which is called something like, If Only the Clock Was Shorter. If only the clock was shorter. And I wrote this like I was a god, like I was one of the creators, right? And that it's a shame that the clock isn't shorter. That I told God, I told the creator, I said, God, universe, creator, you got to make their clock shorter, because if you just put them there for a day and played a video and said, you're only going to be here for a day, right? You'll only be here for a day. Appreciate this right now. everyone would have to appreciate it. And then you'll go back to complete blackness. You can't experience complete blackness because you can't experience nothing. It's not possible, right? So it's not like you're going to experience something after this. It's like you're going back to nothing. But right now, you have something. So soak it in. And I compared it to a school field trip, right? I said it's like one of those times when you go on a field trip and you're out, you're exploring on unknown grounds. You know there's going to be a time where you have to hop back on that bus and go. You have school the next day, but it's kind of in the back of your mind, but it's still there. It makes you appreciate it a little bit more, right? I wrote this whole thing and I kept going throughout. I said, isn't it a shame, right, that the clock isn't shorter? Because at one point, we thought infinite beings were the best. Infinity is great because we have infinity. What is the point of an experience if not for infinity? Because there's no memory of the thing. What was the point of even experiencing the thing if there isn't infinity? And then quickly, we realized, well, infinity is a long time, because even after 100,000 human years, after a 20 quadrillion human years, if you're tired, you have infinity to go, right? And there will always be infinity to go. Even after infinity, there's infinity, right? There's infinity in 1, infinity in 2. So finite beings are fortunate, right? Because they have so little time that they have to appreciate it. They have to soak it in. They have to make every choice like it matters, because surely it does. I mean, the clock is running out. But, and this is still me in reading, like I'm not reading it, I'm remembering it, but it's just a shame that it isn't shorter. That your clock is giving you the perception as if it was long. Because surely if you had a day, a week, a month, a year, you wouldn't be living like how you are now. Right? You would take a risk. You would make a video. You would share your thoughts with the world. You would quit the stupid bad habits. You would act a different type of way if you knew the clock was running out. See, there's a clock. You just don't know when it's running out. And everybody has the illusion that it lasts a long time. Even if that were the case, though, you still know there is a clock. But humans don't act as if that clock matters, right? You know there is one. You just think there's a long time, as if for some reason that gives you a reason to not act like there is a clock, right? Because there is one. I think there's one more point I ended that newsletter with, and I want to think of what it was. But quite the storytelling right there. That was all off the dome. You can probably tell. But this whole story was obviously story told, because I was reading that Brian Johnson thing and I was like, I really like this. I don't like being like I, me. I just want to give you a story that has a message that resonates so deeply with you that you're just like, holy shit, right? That like, there's something about taking it to the level of a story, because you can take it anywhere and you can put the creator's words in your mouth, or like whatever it is, right? So I acted as if I was like, right next to the creator as he was making this. And I was like, yeah, you got to give them one day. Like, listen to me. You got to give them one day, because they'll appreciate it more, because all there is now. And every moment is just, because when you're a finite being, memory doesn't matter. It matters tomorrow, but when you die, memory means nothing, right? So that means the only thing that matters is right now, because right now is all there is, because eventually you'll cease to exist and the memory's gone. So that means all that matters is now. So I'm telling the creator, I'm saying, listen, you got to make it finite. And he said, look, I did. I just made it a little longer. So then that's where I ended it, okay? So I said that maybe it is a good thing, right? Maybe the creator was right, because you are still finite. You're just finite for a little a little bit of time. You're finite for a long time. So if you knew that you were finite, if you knew this and lived every day like you had a short life, but you had it for a long time, then you're fine, right? Because it's just like you're living that, okay, I have 1 day left type of life, but you're living it for 1,000 days. So of course, knowing that, you're fine. So maybe the creator did make the right call. Something like that, right? That was kind of the ending. And I say all this to say, as you can probably get from the story that I just told, that we often look, we know there's a clock. We all know there's a clock. Now, for one, we assume the timing on the clock, right? Even me. We all do. We all assume there's a time on the clock. Or no, we all assume we know the time on the clock, when that's not really the case. But we know there's a clock. Yet we have this weird illusion that in the future, at some point in time, we will act a different way, the ideal way. We will do the things we want to do. We'll leave the things we want to leave. We'll stop doing that. We'll start doing this, right? Like that is what's going to happen. But the funny thing is, that's almost how an infinite being should live. An infinite being should be the one who doesn't give a singular fuck about any choice, really. I mean, I don't know if that argument should really be made. I'm not an infinite being, but you get my point. Like, they're the ones who can kind of hop around, F around for a bit. You are not. You have limited time. Like, you don't and I think the problem with this is because a lot of people, especially myself, like we all have habits, obviously, but we live the same days over and over and over and over, right? So we're not almost understanding that we actually lost a day. Like, we lost time. It felt like the same day because we did the same things, but we actually did lose a unique day, right? Like, you think it's Monday. No, it is a day in the universe that has never been seen before. Like, think about that. The day you're in, like, I get it, right? You're like, oh, it's fall. It's Monday. It's September 28th. It's a Thursday. I think that's the date. September 28th. It's a Thursday at 3 p.m. It's the fall in 2023. Is it? It is a day that this universe, as far as I'm concerned, has never seen before, ever. Now, because you do the same things, because it's fall quite often, right? Once a year. It's fall once a year. It's the year, it's the month, it's the day, since you live the same day every week, right? It's another week. Since you live that same day, it feels like that. But it's an entirely unique day. Just because you do the same things does not mean anything. You could do anything you want today. You could quit your job, take your savings, and do something. Travel, I don't know, for a little bit. You wouldn't do that, but you could, right? So I think that's the issue with it, is that we live the same days. So we don't actually see it as like a loss of time. Like, today was genuinely, whatever day you're on right now, that was a day. That was a unique day. You could have just said fuck it and done anything. You could have done whatever you wanted. You could have driven to a completely random place. You could, I don't know. That's the craziest thing I could think of, right? That you could have driven to a random place. But you get my point. So, wrapping this up, maybe we would be better if our clock was shorter. See, I think we're only better when we know what I just said. We know the clock is finite, and we actually live like we have a short life, but we have it for a long time. Because in my argument, I was telling the creator, you got to give them a day. If you play them a little video and you say, look, you have 1 day, just soak this in, it's going to be a blast. Everyone's going to have a great time. Maybe a little bit like, oh, it's going to be over, but like, you wouldn't have time to worry about it being over because you'd want to take it all in before you lost it, right? So he is making, or it is making that argument to the creator that there should be little time. And the creator is saying, no. This is a better alternative. I gave them finite time. And in terms of the universe, it's not very long, right? But I gave them finite time. I just gave them it for a long time. So it's like, okay, well, instead of having that one day to enjoy, I guess it's better because they have one day to enjoy for thousands of days, right? But the problem is people don't live like that. People don't live, they don't act like they have a short life for a long time. They just act like they have a long time. And they always will. So, little late night introspection for you, late night storytelling. I hope this wasn't too much to hit you with, but yeah, I just started writing and I was like, this is a banger. So, I think I said everything I wanted to say. Take risks. Fuck around. Do things, right? Stop caring. Like, I'm going to just be straight up with you. I posted a TikTok right before this. I used to post TikToks. I stopped. I was kind of on and off. And I almost didn't post this because I was just like, what if people see it? Swear to God. And I swear, like, I don't really care what people think because it is one of those things where no one actually gives a singular fuck, right? And even if they did, if someone was like, yo, did you post this? I'd be like, yeah. Like, I can back it up. As if, like, for some reason I was like, yeah, I mean, I did, but I didn't mean anything, but like as if I'd have to like defend myself if someone was like, did you post this video? Like, is this you? And I'd be like, yeah. Like, I can defend myself. Like, yeah, I said that. I mean, I clearly did that. And I wanted to do that. So, but even, and I say even me, just because I thought I was on a level where I didn't really care what people thought. And then I did have a point where I was like, oh, fuck, like, what if someone I know follows me, or because TikTok has that like phone number feature, can my friends see it? And I just got to a point where I was like, really? Like, fucking really? Like, I just wrote a whole newsletter about this bullshit, and then I film a TikTok. And then I immediately start thinking like, oh, what if someone else sees it? It's kind of the idea, right? So like, stop living that way. What would you do if the clock was short? What would you do if it was just a day? Right? Definitely wouldn't be caring what other people fucking think. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. No one even cares. And if they did care, you don't even have to fucking care. That's the crazy part. Even worst case scenario, someone cares, you don't have to give a singular fuck. Crazy, right? It's crazy. If someone hit me up right now and was like, you made this video, I would be like, yes. Done. That's my, and now I'm getting into my therapy here. My biggest problem is I feel like I could never justify my actions outside of what people know me to be, right? So in the world of people knowing me, I am very limited. They don't really know what I do. The moment they see a TikTok or a video or something I've done outside of who they know me to be, they're going to be like, this is what you do? You do this, you do this. And I have this weird feeling of I would never be able to justify myself. I would be like, same thing I said before, like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry I didn't tell you about it. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that I was working on a business, or I have a YouTube channel, or I have a TikTok page. Like, yeah, as if I would like struggle to somehow articulate that to them. As if I was trying to hide it. Now, am I telling them? No. But if it comes up, like, why wouldn't I be able to defend myself? Okay, I have a YouTube channel for a reason. I want to make these videos. I'm working on a business for a reason. I kind of want to make money. Kind of want to change the world, right? So to go into my little thing, that's kind of my thing. Is like, I feel like justification is tricky for me. As if, like I said, if someone saw what happened outside of what they know me to be, which is a TikTok, which is YouTube, which is working on a business, I would just not be able to confidently say those things. Because I want someone to be like, you have a TikTok? And I'll be like, yeah. You watch it? But right now I feel like I'd be like, fuck. They know, right? It's like, who gives a fuck? Like, justify your own actions. Why do you do the things you do? You clearly did that for a reason. So the moment someone brings something up like that, don't fall back into this like weird, yeah, it was weird. Like, I don't know why I did that. Like, And again, maybe this is just me, but maybe I'm speaking to someone out there that actually resonates with this. Because again, this is all in your head too. This never even happened to me, by the way. No one has ever said shit to me about anything. I don't tell people about these things, not particularly hiding, but not telling them. But you get my point. It's like, it's still in the head. Like, this has never even happened. No one's even confronted me about these things. I'm just saying, if they did, I know I wouldn't be prepared. So calling this out even on this video was very beneficial to me, because I want to be that person. I want to be the person who can stand behind their actions confidently. Like, I shouldn't be upset that I made a YouTube. I should be fucking confident. I should be promoting it, right? But yeah, that's the end of my rant. Hope you got the central message at the beginning of, the whole story, the clock being shorter, how we should live that way. And obviously the second part being, be confident in the things that you do. And then obviously how that ties into social interactions, because, people might not know you do outside of them. There's things you kind of hide. I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel. Oh, that's so weird, right? Or I'm trying to work on this. No. And again, it's all mind games, because some people might be like, oh, that's sick. Like, I'm going to have friends that actually think it's sick that I do these things. It's mind games. It's mind games. So with that said, hope you enjoyed. Hope you got some value. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.